morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host these last 2 hours. I'm going to talk this hour about some issues surrounding self-sufficiency, our food supply, and how you can play a greater role in your own welfare. There's a 75-year-old farmer in Indiana who's taken on the giant Monsanto. He'll be in the Supreme Court next week in a patent battle that could have long-term ramifications to the patents of these corporations, these biotechnology companies, that can affect our food supply from now until the end of time. Most Americans have no idea that this is even going on, nor interest, frankly. On Tuesday, the court will hear arguments in the dispute. Basically, the dispute is that a soybean farmer, whose name is Vernon Bowman, bought and planted a mix of unmarked grain that is typically used for animal feed, but he decided instead to plant it. The plants that grew out turned out in the long run to contain a popular herbicide-resistant genetic anomaly that is known as Roundup Ready, that Monsanto guards very, very closely with a patent, and they keep all of this under hush-hush wraps. St. Louis company, which is Monsanto, they're based in St. Louis, they are accusing Bowman of infringing on their patents by growing plants that contain their genetic material, which they have patented. By the way, I don't know how you patent genetic material. I mean, it's a life force. You can't patent a life force. God already owns those. Nature owns those. Bowman grows wheat and corn and soybeans on about 300 acres he got from his father through an inheritance when his father passed away. He argues, in his case, that he used second-generation grain and not the original seeds that are covered by Monsanto's patents. So basically his argument is, I didn't plant a Monsanto patented grain. I planted seeds that came from that. So therefore Monsanto's patent doesn't apply. Really what's left for the court to determine is how you can control the use of multiple generations of a seed. And I don't have a whole lot of good feeling about this, because typically the courts almost invariably at this point find in favor of these biotech monsters and giants, because the court has been so corrupted over the years that the Supreme Court, perfect example is Obamacare. They're just not interested in resolving problems in favor of justice anymore. It's more about who has the greater clout. In and of itself, you can't patent a seed, and you can't patent genetic material. And you don't have to be a constitutional scholar to recognize that. The fact that this has even made it to court and is in front of the Supreme Court, in and of itself tells you everything that you need to know. The fact that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear it has sparked a lot of concern in the biotech industry. And so they're lobbying the hell out of Congress and all of these other organizations, because they're afraid that the court may turn around and put a limit on the number of self-replicating technologies that are out there. In other words, limit their patent to one growth cycle or 5 growth cycles. I don't know how they'd even justify that. That just shows you the whole absurdity of the argument. Farmers and biotech crop critics, by the same token, are arguing in the opposite. They're concerned that the court might curb their ability to grow products because everything could be ultimately labeled under patent, which of course is Monsanto's whole idea. If you control the food supply, you control the people. So the case actually has some really significant implications for both sides of the fence. If the court rules in favor of Monsanto and the other biotech giants, we lose. If the court rules in favor of the farmers and the critics, they lose. Will the court come up with some happy medium, which is not justice at all for either party? More than likely. You know, there's a guy named Dermot Hayes. He's an Iowa State University agribusiness and economics professor. And his argument is that Monsanto should prevail. Now, of course, you got to wonder, look at where he's from, the Iowa State University Agribusiness and Economics Division, or he's a professor of that group. I think the case has enormous implications, says he. If Monsanto were to lose, many companies would have a reduced incentive for research in an area where we really need it right now. The world needs more food. Well, I would agree with you, Mr. Hayes, with one exception. The world doesn't need food where the patent is owned by an individual company who can then declare that no one has the right to grow it without their say-so. You're right, we do need more food. What we don't need is a tyrant controlling it. It's a showdown, folks. It's a showdown. And it's a showdown that covers a lot of different ground because it covers patent law and farmers' rights. It covers the issue of genetically altered plants and crops and whether or not there are environmental implications, intellectual property rights, farmers' individual rights, monetary issues. I mean, it covers the gamut. There are some 50 organizations that have filed what's called amici briefs. Now, an amici brief, if you don't know, is basically a non-interested party filing their opinion on the case. And in other words, someone who's not actually involved in the controversy but has some input that the court may find valuable. 50 organizations. So if you wonder how important this issue is, look at that number. I mean, even the medicine companies are getting involved in this. By the way, for the record, Monsanto is worth, I don't know, I think their gross sales are in the 13 or 14 billion dollar range. Billion. They sell agricultural seed and chemicals and fertilizers and God only knows what else. So basically what they're saying is that even though our seeds self-replicate, we own the intellectual property rights for that seed forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Come on. That's ridiculous. Farmers, for all of known history, have saved seed and planted it the following year. But suddenly, these guys step in and say, oh, no. That seed that you saved, that's ours, and you owe us money if you're going to plant it. It flies in the face of everything that we've ever known. Flies in the face of everything that we've ever known. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this topic, and we can take some calls if you'd like. We'll be back in a moment.
I know what you're thinking, Bunk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains has this breaking news announcement. If you've got a British car and it quits, if you've got a Japanese car and it quits, if you've got a German car and it quits, come into Napa Auto Parts in West Plains, right across from the Civic Center. They speak automobile fluently. Yes, they do. And may be able to help you find the right parts to bring your car new life. Call ahead to reserve parts, 256-0131, or stop by 311 St. Louis Street, across from the Civic Center.
So the game is afoot, folks. Monsanto and the other agri giants are basically saying that anything that sprouts from our seeds, you have to pay us for. For example, if a farmer were to plant a seed and they save the results of that growth and plant it the next year, Monsanto says they have a claim against that farmer because they can't do that unless they're willing to pay. That farmer, Monsanto is entitled for that farmer to have to buy new seed every year. So, you know, and what's interesting, by the way, is Bowman, the guy who is involved in this case, back in 1999, he planted a second crop of soybeans after he harvested winter wheat from a farmstead. When he used Monsanto's Roundup Ready engineered seed for his main or his first crop, you know, this is the primary initial crop that he first planted, he said that he decided to use inexpensive commodity grain that he purchased from a local grain elevator for his second planting of soybeans in late June. Yields are generally lower for late planted seeds because the optimal condition for that is in April and May. The mixture of grain, Bowman actually called he termed junk seed. And it didn't have any patent technology agreement, and there was no, directive that came with it that said you're prohibited from ever planting this seed or doing anything along those lines. It was basically bagged and branded as soybean seed. So the soybean crop turned out so good that Bowman saved some of the seed generated by the plants and sowed them the following year for another late crop. And he repeated the process year after year after year. Sometimes he supplemented the second time that he planted, his second planting of the season, with more of this commodity grain, this junk grain seed that he was using. And he continued to buy first generation seed for the main crop. So in other words, he went and he bought Monsanto seed for his first crop. But his second crop, he grew from this junk seed. Now, in the first seed, he had to sign the technology agreement that comes from Monsanto with the purchase of the initial seed. And he has to pledge in that agreement, in that technology agreement, you're required to sign a pledge that you're not going to save that seed and use it to plant again the following year, or even in a late season. So he wasn't actually using or violating his technology agreement. All he was doing was buying the secondary junk seed. And Monsanto began investigating Bowman in 2006. And they asserted and admitted that he wasn't saving the seed from the property of the first generation seeds, but that even though he wasn't, his use of commodity grain and the progeny or the offspring from that grain did violate his patent and his technology agreement. Bowman's argument is that Monsanto's right to the seeds he purchased from the grain elevator as the junk seed were exhausted because they weren't the first generation seeds that other farmers purchased and planted, but a mix of late generation, wherever it came from. Now, Bowman says, I never understood or thought that it would be a problem because when he bought the seed, it didn't come with a technology agreement. So he never dreamt that Monsanto would come after him because in his mind, it wasn't a technology committed seed. So one of his quotes is, he doesn't have a computer, by the way, and so he has to go to the library and read about, the case. He says, farmers have always been allowed to go buy elevator grain and use it for seed. You have no idea what kind of seed you're buying at an elevator. They claim I'm making a new seed by planting it, but that's far-fetched reasoning. Bowman just wanted cheap seed. That's all he was looking for. And the simple reason is because the Roundup Ready soybean seed that he was buying that came with the technology agreement was about $17.50 a bag. And up from about $4.50 a bag when he first started buying it. In other words, when he started doing this in 96, this bag was only $4.50 for the seed. Well, by 2009, literally, a 12 years, 13 years later, it had gone as high as $17.50 a bag. So that's why he was buying the secondary junk seed for the second planting. Now, a lower court had already ruled in favor of Monsanto, which is why this went to the appellate court. And in May 2010, they ordered Bowman to pay the company $84,000 and some change. The federal appeals court, Bowman then challenged it and appealed the case to the appellate court. And the appellate court sided with Monsanto back in September of 2011. Then, Bowman then appealed to the Supreme Court, and they decided to hear the case. And, of course, that's raised the hopes of those people who are, backing the Bowman argument, right? In one of a dozen briefs filed in his support, farmer, environmental, and food safety groups claim the courts have carved out an exception to existing patent law that gives biotech companies too much control. They want the Supreme Court to broaden the farmer's ability to use the seed and not restrict them. Quote, through a patenting system that favors the rights of corporations over the rights of farmers and citizens, our food and farming system is being held hostage by a handful of companies. Nothing less than the future of food is at stake. Now, this is so critically important that we have to understand no farmers, no food, right? No seed, no point in farming. So where do we go from this? See, the courts are now in league with the corporations, which is, by the way, the definition of fascism, right? I mean, fascism is when the government and corporations use the courts to restrict the rights of individuals. And it is when corporations have so corrupted the legislative process and the courts that they use the law to accomplish their own ends, for profit, not for justice. Now, Stalin was the one who made the statement that fascism is capitalism in decline. And the reason that he used that phrase is because capitalism when it becomes, when it corrupts the system, the courts and the legislative, and the executive for that matter, once it's corrupted those organizations are now beholden to their benefactors. And those benefactors in turn say, well, we've already paid you to accomplish this task. So now you must use the law, whether legislative or judicial, to protect the interest which we've bought and paid for. And government then becomes heavy-handed against the citizens themselves in an effort to accomplish the mission for which they've been paid. Now, government trammels and tramps upon its own citizenry in an effort to meet the obligations which they've committed to based on the corruption. What is that corruption? Well, it's donations to campaigns. I mean, it's lobbying, which by any other term is called bribery. The Monsanto backers say without extended patent protection, technology companies, the companies who invest in this technology, they won't be able to continue to do research and development and to recoup the investment that they've done in the research and development. And that brand new technologies would be shelved because these companies wouldn't have the wherewithal and the resources to put the money into it. You can cover up your claims of corruption and fascism with fancy excuses and justifications and rationale. But it doesn't change the facts. The facts are that these companies have basically usurped the judicial and legislative process away from our nation. I don't know, folks. I don't know where to go from here. I know that we see this every day, and this is just one very, very blatant example of the tyranny of corruption that has infested our country like a cancer. We're going to take a break. You're listening to America's Voice now. My name is Michael. We'll be back in just a moment.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. The sequester is here. $85 billion in spending cuts underway. In his weekly address, the president putting the blame on Republicans.
Here's the thing. None of this is necessary. It's happening because Republicans in Congress chose this outcome over closing a single wasteful tax loophole that helps reduce the deficit.
Washington Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers counters in the GOP response.
The president failed to act, and his Senate never passed a bill to replace the sequester.
Secretary of State John Kerry is in Egypt pressing government and opposition leaders to form a consensus.
In addition to the ongoing political unrest and economic troubles in Egypt, the conflict in Syria is expected to be high on the agenda. Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has been trying to bring together regional leaders to find a solution to that conflict.
Fox Radio's Kimberly Adams in Cairo. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Visit our outstanding sponsors, West Plains Pawn, located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. West Plains Pawn can be found on the web at westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them via telephone at 417-256-3000. The battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. They can be reached via telephone at 417-257-7799. They can also be found on the web at batterystation.com. My friends at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance, Brian can be reached at 870-492-4030, and he's located at 3225 Route 62, 1/2 mile east of Walmart in Mountain Home. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. They have an outstanding lunch special buffet. You can have salad as well as pizza and other pasta, so you can have something tasty and something healthy. Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116. Bill Stone does remodeling, custom and new construction, light commercial, farm work, pretty much the gamut. If you're interested in doing some kind of a new project, make sure that you give Bill Stone at Stone Construction an opportunity to bid on that job. And my dear friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade, right off the square in West Plains. She can be reached via telephone at 255-2253. She's got the best damn bakery in 100 miles. And thanks so much to our phone line sponsor, Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. He is on the square in West Plains. Excellent opportunity for you to get your hair cut. Get over there and visit him.
Hi, America. It's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. Congressman John Campbell is overseeing the Federal Reserve. That's right. He is chairman of the subcommittee that oversees the Federal Reserve, and he is sitting in for me. So any question that you have ever had about the Federal Reserve, now is the time to ask it. 1-800-520-1234. Congressman John Campbell in for me on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
News Talk 107.1 The Point Weather sponsorships are available for your business marketing plans. Contact Cody or Josh at 255-2548 for more information.
From the Point Weather Center, for this morning we have cloudy, then gradually becoming mostly sunny skies, high near 36 degrees. Tonight we have mostly clear skies with a low around 21. On Sunday, mostly sunny, high near 46. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call 255-2253 and you'll be glad you did.
All right, you're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm your host this hour, broadcasting live. If you'd like to contact our hotline, you can do so. That's sponsored by Wits End, and you can reach them, or you can reach us on our hotline at 257-1111. Like your input and your ideas on this issue, just give us a shout on our hotline at 257-1111. Or if you're out in the hinterlands, 866-554-6636. It's 417-257-1111. Or if you're in the hinterlands and you'd like to call toll-free, it's 866-554-6636. So we're going to cover in the next segment the issue of how you can avoid having Monsanto or the equivalent in your garden. Because this doesn't, remember now, Bowman has only got 300 acres. I mean, he's not some agri-giant. He's got a 300-acre farm. And so it's important that we understand what are the steps that we can take to prevent that from happening to us on our 50 by 50 or, 5 or 20 or 50 or 500-acre farm, right? Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, just a random comment from a dairy farmer on the road.
All right, dairy farmer on the road. Fire away.
You buy seed corn in 80,000 count bags.
Right.
And right now they've got that between 3 and 4 cents per kernel is what they're charging for that technology. And you ask, why would farmers pay that much when you can buy organic or they call it triple stacked, quadruple stacked, whatever.
Right.
It's hard to grow a crop of corn without all of the barriers that they put in genetically, because resistance in nature just keeps coming to a higher threshold.
Right.
And, they're on the road to 300 bushels per acre. Mm-hmm. And they said we were at like 180 is the usual average per bushel of corn per acre. With the drought last year, we were at 150. But if you would go back to your old ag classrooms and pull out the Morris feeds and feedings, the old nutrition of corn, you may have 300 bushels of organic or of matter of corn there, but what if you only have 150 bushels of nutrients that actually cattle or a ruminant or a human or the actual nutrients that that can be digested is what I question. It
Right.
seems like
So in other words, what you're saying is while the yield is up, the nutritional value is depleted. Or fallen. I shouldn't say depleted, because depleted would mean none. But while the yield itself in terms of gross tonnage may be up, the actual nutritional value of that tonnage is severely decreased.
that would be my opinion. They're finding, they've always found that the finer you grind corn, it used to be back in the 70s, back in the heyday, the Dodge Ram, Paul Harvey, warm, fuzzy feeling, going to own a farm someday. You could feed what they call a 50-50. That would be half pellets, half cracked corn, and get phenomenal milk from your dairies here in Wright, Texas County.
What happens if you do that again now with what you're buying through the agri giants?
Well, they really don't even offer that. I mean, you probably could get that.
No, if you made that same mix today with the yield that you get from the agri giants, are you getting the same?
Oh, no. The margin.
So my point is that what they're essentially doing is they're putting you in a position where you're forced to buy their product year in and year out based on a claim that, well, my product is superior because I grow more yielded tonnage. But the other side of that is that while that may necessarily be true, the equivalent quality of that tonnage in terms of its biomatter value is dramatically, and its nutrient value is dramatically lowered. In other words, you're getting, even though the tonnage is up, you're not getting any more bionutrients than you were getting before you started with the increased tonnage.
Well, but in that, I agree with that, but we have gotten so...
But you see, in this case, with Bowman here, what they're saying is, it's not the fact that you're even arguing about whether or not the nutrient value is there. What they're saying is that you didn't buy new seed from us every year. And as a result, we're back charging you for all the product that you did grow, whether or not you used our seed, because we're claiming you did. And you didn't adhere to your technology agreement.
And that the courts and the lawyers and the judges are probably going to agree with Monsanto. But
well, the two lower courts did. So I mean, now it's at the Supreme Court level. I mean, the lower court did, and the appellate court did. So now it's at the top court, which I mean, you guys have heard me do many, many, many shows about how the Supreme Court, while they declare themselves the final arbiter of law, they are not. But that's a whole different topic.
I did read an article just the other day where the first generation of Roundup Ready is going to expire, and Monsanto is not. They're going to let that patent expire to where it's just like Roundup. Now you can get that generic.
Right.
But there is an interesting lawsuit, and I don't know how it's proceeding. There's some organic heirloom seed growers that do not want Monsanto's technology in their seeds.
Right.
And since Monsanto is claiming to own that, they want compensation if some of those traits show up in their plant.
Right.
And so it's hard to. That's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Well, and you're actually stepping. You kicked the panel of my next segment, which is, the seed catalogs are now landing in everybody's mailboxes, right?
Exactly.
And so right now, people don't realize that Monsanto owns 40% of the U.S. vegetable seed market in the nation, and that when you're planting those seeds, you don't even realize it, but you are already dealing with Monsanto because of the fact that they own so many of the names of these different seed varieties, right? So if you're going to plant a home garden, even as a sustainable, self-reliant individual, and we're not talking about, planting hundreds of acres, we're just talking about a home garden, right? If you're choosing, the Monsanto seed, they've already kind of positioned themselves to make money off the home gardening market, even though you don't realize that they're in there because they own the name of the seed.
Mike, if you'll give me the liberty, I want to transition to cows for just a second.
All right.
March 15th, this is rumor on the streets, they're going to come in. If you unload a cow at a sale barn or a calf, doesn't matter if it's 1 day old or 1 hour old or 10 years old.
Right.
They're going to implement a program for traceability back to that owner, and it's going to happen mid-March.
And how are they going to do this?
They're either going to tag them, which they always put a back tag on, and I would say that back tag is going to be, and in some ways I think it's a good thing, it's going to, wherever that meat ends up, that identification it's going to be transparency through the industry. The problem is that it's about the technology and the things that farmers are having to do to keep their cattle alive and healthy is not good in the end result. And that's what consumers, this is what I find ironic about it. Consumers know that what they're eating is not what they want to be eating. But the farmers that we're training are producing a product that consumers don't necessarily want.
Right. Well, you're talking about, and I mean, this goes down to the local high school level where they're teaching your kid an FFA, right? They're teaching them. Go ahead.
Well, and just a case in point, they had a dairy profit seminar, and it was put on by the University of Missouri and Extension. And this is just one segment of dairy production.
You're going to have to jump to it. We got a break coming up.
Basically, they wanted hormone therapy was a better alternative of breeding cows than just natural bulls' relationship with cows.
Right.
And it's crazy. But cows can't even have sex naturally anymore. It's just not even allowed.
Hey, there's something wrong with that whole picture. Have a great day. Hey, folks, I'm going to put a list on our website at americasvoicenow.org and on our Facebook page about a group of, and there are hundreds of them. These are Monsanto-free seed companies. And so these are heirloom seed producers who are not producing Monsanto seeds. Now, Seminis is who Monsanto has acquired, and of course, with that, they've gotten all the names of all these different products. So, what you're going to find is that you've got to avoid, and you can, by the way, ask a company if they sell any of the Seminis seeds or seeds from any of the Seminis partners, because if they are, you avoid that like the plague. Here's the deal: there are probably, I don't know, maybe 80 or 90 companies here in the United States. And then there are quite a few in Canada and a couple in Europe as well. And basically, there's a couple of links. This is from a website called OccupyMonsanto360.org. And if you wanted to go to their website directly, you can do that and then type in Monsanto Free Seed Companies. Monsanto Free Seed Companies. I would encourage you to get out there and make sure that even for your local home garden, you're avoiding them. Now, I'm in Missouri, and there's a company there called Baker Creek Seed Company, and we've had good success with them. We know that a lot of what they do is not, tied in any way, shape, or form to that. But you still have to ask those questions to make sure that you are not, getting yourself, into a position where you can be challenged later on about what you're growing. So if you are interested in this, I'll have it on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You'll be able to find that information there as well. So we've got a break coming up, and go ahead, caller. We've got a break coming. If you want to hold for it, we'll bring you on after the break.
Sure.
All right, hang on a second. We are going to take a quick break. You can find our website at americasvoicenow.org, or you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You can also find every show that we do on our YouTube page, where we actually stream live. We stream live video for every show that we do. Not that I'm a handsome fella by any means. I have a face that's made for radio, so you'll get the idea if you click on one of our YouTube videos. But it's youtube.com/America's Voice Now. And that'll allow you to see all the shows we do, whether they're self-reliance, whether they're farming, whether they're politics, whatever. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
I know what you're thinking, Bunk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
It's time for Trick Hoops and Alley Hoops. Summersville Booster Club and PTO bringing you the Harlem Wizards, tipping off with the Wild Ball Hog, featuring faculty, staff, and the Summersville Mountain View alumni. Tonight at 6:30 in the Summersville High School Gymnasium. For amazing basketball talent and ball handling skill, the Harlem Wizards, creating an awe-inspiring basketball experience for all. Tickets at the door are $10 for students and $12 for adults. Kids 4 and under are free, and senior citizens pay the same as students. The Harlem Wizards tonight in Summersville.
It's a frosty winter morning. What would be the worst possible thing that could happen? How about a car that just won't start?
If you would have just taken your automobile to Don's Auto Service in West Plains, that nightmare could have been avoided. Extreme conditions make it more important than ever to keep up with your vehicle maintenance. Let the expert staff at Don's Auto Service take care of your car and help prevent a major winter-related disaster. Call for an appointment today at 417-256-2752 or stop by the shop on Porter Wagner Boulevard in West Plains.
All right, we're back. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. I'm going to give you the names of a couple of companies that we deal with locally right here that I'm familiar with these folks, and they're good friends of ours. One is called White Harvest Seed Company. They're out of Hartville, Missouri, and you can get to their website by going to whiteharvestseed.com. That's whiteharvestseed.com. Now, they're a pretty good organization, and I think that if you get a chance to meet with those folks, you can buy online, of course, as well. Now, there's another company called Hickory Ridge Seeds, and they are right out of Arkansas, in Viola, Arkansas. It's called hickoryridgeseeds.com. And you can get on there and make sure that you're buying product that you know is Monsanto or agribusiness giant free. So we encourage you to make sure that you are participating with people that you know and that have credibility in terms of their ability to offer you products that are going to meet your requirements and at the same point in time, help to defeat the agri giants out there. And this isn't a joke, folks, because here's a guy who was farming 300 lousy acres, and they're charging him $85,000. So I grant you that they're not immediately likely to come after you for having a 50 by 50 plot in your backyard. But the other aspect of this is when you buy these genetically modified seeds, you also don't know, and you can't necessarily save the seeds, because what you get the following year is not what you necessarily planted the year before. And so it's critically important that you have an opportunity to know that you're getting heirloom seeds that will deliver to you the following year exactly what you planted, and that you are free of any legal implications that may come about as a result of that. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike. I'm really happy to hear you talking about heirloom seeds tonight. That's near and dear to my heart.
Yep, and it is an important factor that each of us should be taking into account, especially if we're planting even on our own home gardens, or if we run a small self-reliance farm.
And, each of those companies you mentioned, White Harvest, Hickory Ridge and Baker's Creek have all been coming to the Go Green Festival when we have it here.
Right.
And whenever Craig Wiles' church, Seventh-day Adventist Church, has their Sustainability Festival.
Sure.
Most of them have gone there. They're all great companies.
Yes, they are. And we know for a fact that these are guys who are selling non-Semenes or Monsanto product. So, you know.
And, another thing to suggest is an awful lot of people get together and have seed swaps.
Yep.
There is a group having a seed swap this weekend at West Plains. And, I don't have her website, but a really great lady, Jill Henderson, is sponsoring it. She has written a book on seed saving, several books on gardening.
Right.
And ShowMeOz.com, I believe, is her website. If a person were to use Start Page.
Show Me Oz?
Show Me Oz. But she is a West Plains native and an expert on seeds.
Right. Very best of the Ozarks. ShowMeOz.wordpress.com is the... and she's got heirloom seed sources on her website right there as a link. So, but we'll make sure that we give you folks the opportunity to take a look. I'll post a couple of these links up on the website so that you have an opportunity to see them. You can find them at americasvoicenow.org, and then you can also find them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And that'll give you an opportunity to make sure that you're dealing with companies that are both reputable and that you are free from, or you're avoiding the Monsanto. And by the way, I want to caution you and clarify something. Just because it's called an heirloom seed doesn't mean Monsanto's not involved in it, because they are buying companies up as quickly as they can get them who have the heirloom tag and yet are Monsanto owned. So it's important that you make sure that you're getting what the seed companies call the Safe Seed Pledge type seed, right?
Exactly.
So,
also, Mike, next weekend there will be OSLU classes on gardening, and I will get that information to you to post on the website.
Good thing.
I believe next weekend on Saturday it'll be Willow Springs, Sunday will be West Plains.
Okay.
The following weekend in Thayer. And, it's on the topic you're talking about there.
There you go.
And I'd also encourage people to go to the Missouri Organic Association website.
Right.
And check it out. They can find great information there.
There's a lot of information out there, and thank you, Mike. I appreciate that call. There is a lot of information out there, folks. If you're interested in just doing a little bit of homework and research on what you can do and how you can avoid getting caught up in the problems of non-heirloom and or non-organic seed. And here's the deal. You got to look at it this way. You're either interested in feeding your family properly or you're not. But, there's really only one way to do that, and that's avoid buying seed from companies that are affiliated with Monsanto. Buy from the list of companies that Monsanto hasn't bought up and aren't affiliated or doing business with Monsanto or Semenes, and avoid certain heirloom varieties that Monsanto owns the names of, and make sure that you ask the seed company that you're doing business with if they've taken the Safe Seed Pledge. Right? Go ahead, caller. Welcome.
Yeah, Mike, could I do a quick PSA for the apple seed going on in Houston?
You sure can. Appleseed, by the way, folks, if you're not familiar with it, is a shooting program whereby they come in and teach children how to, actually, not just children, adults as well, how to shoot. Go ahead.
Okay, they will be at April 13th and 14th, July 20 and 21st, and August 10 through 20 in the Big Piney Sportsman's Shooting Club in Houston, Missouri. The prices are adult males are $80. That's for 2 days. Adult females, $40. Children under 18 are $20. Free if accompanied by an adult. One free ticket for each adult, that is.
Children under the age of what?
18.
Children under 18 and under are free if with adults?
Yes. It's shooting with a shooter. Otherwise, it's $20.
Right. I got you.
law enforcement and active duty military shoot free.
Okay, can you send this to me in an email and I'll get it posted up on the site?
I surely will. That's the reason I'm calling you. I had it pulled up here in front of me, and I thought I'd do it while the iron was hot.
I'm glad you did, and I'm going to have to drop you because we've got 1 minute left before the break. Hey, thank you. Shoot that over to me, and we'll make sure we get it up there. It's at the Big Piney Sports Club. Thank you. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show. You got less than 30 seconds.
Hey, I'll hold.
Well, we're taking a break. It's going to be a long one at the top of the hour.
I'll make it quick, Mike. Here's what God says about GMO food. Micah 6:14, thou shalt eat but not be satisfied. This is a chapter of judgment, and it deals with lack of nutrition in the food in the last days. And, hey, on that yogurt with aspartame, that's the no-fat. If people want to take the lesser of two evils, the low-fat contains sugar. So, I'd rather choose that. And I'm waiting now since the dairies admit that it's contaminated with aspartame, which is a synthetic waste product. I'm waiting for the milk board to have a seizure. I mean, I'll go support them on that.
All right. Well, they're already trying to do that. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your call. They're already trying to do that, folks, because they're trying to redefine milk. Hey, you're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. I'm your host on this show. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post streaming video of every show that we do at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. If you just remember the phrase America's Voice Now, you're going to pretty much get, whether you go to Facebook or YouTube or our website, you'll get to us. It's americasvoicenow.org. We're going to be back in just a moment. And when we come back, we're going to have Darren on, who is from Well Water Boy. He is the inventor of a couple of great products you folks need to know about. We'll be back in just a moment.
News Talk for Missouri and Arkansas. 107.1 KBMV, Birch Tree, West Plains. The Point.
Fox News Radio. I'm Ron Flatter. Even if